Yes, lads, welcome back to the channel. Today, we have, of course, got the EFL preview. Last weekend, unbelievably exciting games all across League 2, League 1, and the Championship. I'm hoping it's going to continue this week. I'm very much looking forward to many of the games. So, yeah, let's get into this. As always, 5 games from the Championship in that bit more detail. 3 from League 1, 3 from League 2. But, of course, we will be giving my opinion on all of the other games too. So, yeah, let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into this, starting, of course, as always, with League 2. First up, we have got MK Dons up against Walsall at, of course, MK Dons. So I've got this one down as 3-1 to MK Dons. I just think they're going to be too strong, in particular in the midfield. And when I look at Walsall's forwards as well, that MK Dons defence has been so solid, but just performs at such a high level. So yeah, I think midfield, defence, I mean attack as well, why not? But midfield and defence, too strong, especially down the spine for Walsall. It's going to be 3-1. And in terms of a key player, I'm looking in that midfield. I really like Alex Gilby. I think he's going to be the main man for MK Dons. He's had a very good start to the season. I think he's going to be pulling strings. He's going to make it very difficult for Walsall. Of course, Jamie Jealous, he is the answer realistically, you know, in terms of stopping this MK Dons midfield. But I think it's just too much for a player of his quality. Very much a big fan of Jamie Jealous. But yeah, Alex Gilby, key player for MK Dons. And as for Walsall, I'm looking at Miles Roberts here to be the man that could potentially keep a few goals out. A big fan of his. He's had a good season so far. So yeah, Miles Roberts, if anyone's going to do it, it's of course going to be him. So I'm expecting and hoping for him and for Walsall that he has a big game. Tranmere now up against Notts County. Very, very tasty game this. I think there's going to be some goals in it. I've gone for 2-2. I think it's going to be a very close game, end to end. Very exciting for the neutral. In terms of key players, I'm looking at Amari Patrick and I'm looking at Matthew Dennis. And I've gone for those two. There was a couple I could have picked. I've gone for those two. I'm such a big fan of Amari Patrick, who started this season so well. As has Dennis. Dennis has also started it really well. But I wanted to pick who I think the goals will come from, whether that be a goal or an assist. I look at those two. They're the danger men for me. Of course, there'll be other players involved as well, but those two in particular. So yeah, it's going to be a battle between those. Who's going to get more goals? Will it be Notts County or will it be Tranmere? We're going to have to find out. Tranmere at home as well, slight advantage. This will be a close game. Tranmere might start well. Notts County, are we finally seeing the best version of Notts County? 4-1 winners, of course, against Shrewsbury. They picked up a draw in the last game too. So yeah, Notts County, are they here for real now? Going to push towards the playoffs. And of course, Tranmere, that is no easy test at all. 2-2 on the day. And speaking of goals, in my next game, it's going to be Crewe up against Swindon. I've got this Crewe 3, Swindon 2. A massive, massive game between two sides who at the moment look like they're going to certainly be in that top half fighting for the playoffs, maybe even more. And I'm looking at this game and it's going to be an absolute midfield war. And in particular, in terms of a player to highlight here, I'm going to go for Swindon. It's going to be Kilkenny. Someone that I've been very impressed with so far this season, a big fan of his. And as I say, I'm just anticipating if anyone's going to be the live wire in the two midfields, I'm looking at him. Of course, Owen Lunt has had a fantastic start to this season, as has Connor Thomas. So yeah, this to me, a real battle in the middle. Looking forward to seeing who comes out on top in that regard. But as I mentioned, there's going to be goals in this game, and I'm going to go for Josh March for Crewe as their key player. So why I'm looking at Josh March, I just think up front, with the help, of course, of players like Tommy O'Reilly, it's going to be a very difficult task for Swindon to keep them out. I do think Crewe will score. As I say, I think they're going to get 3. Swindon, of course, will score 2. But yeah, there's goals in this game. Crewe needing to bounce back after that 1-0 loss to Gillingham. How they didn't score 3 or 4 in the last game, I do not know. So yeah, Crewe, got to sort it out. Got to make sure they get back to winning ways. Swindon, no easy test at all. So it's a great game on paper. There's going to be goals in this. I've gone, of course, for 3-2 to Crewe. So yeah, I'll see you back on Sunday for the EFL review where it's 0-0. Typically. But no, on paper, as I say, great game. Crewe to get the job done, 3-2. As for the rest of League 2 then, Salford up against Cheltenham. Tough start for Cheltenham. I'm going to go for Salford 2, Cheltenham 0. Barrow now up against Fleetwood. Barrow on the back of some decent results. I've got this one 1-1. Barnet now up against Colchester. Colchester, a couple of defeats in a row. Are they going to be able to turn it round? Not fully. I see this as 1-1, a good point for both teams before the start of the game. And yeah, Colchester need to start showing some better, more consistent form ASAP. Bromley up against my surprise package in Harrogate. I think this is going to be a close one. I can see it being 1-1 for the majority of the game and maybe at the death a Bromley winner. So I've gone for Bromley 2, Harrogate 1. Cambridge up against Newport, a struggling Newport side. I don't even think they've been that bad though. They've been unfortunate in some games. Cambridge though, they won 3-1 against Charlton midweek. I think they're going to win 3-1 again. So I've gone 3-1 to Cambridge. They're just going to have too much quality and they'll get the job done. Chesterfield up against Crawley, a tight affair this for me. I've gone for Chesterfield 1, Crawley 0. As I say, very close game. Very keen to see if Crawley can get a goal, get into the game. I don't think they will. Chesterfield 1, Crawley 0. Bristol Rovers up next, up against Grimsby. Bristol Rovers, are they now a rejuvenated team? Are they about to start this big comeback? I'm not sure. I think it's going to be Grimsby 2, Bristol Rovers 1. In all fairness, I'm recording this before Grimsby and Manchester United. So let's see how hard those Grimsby players work tonight, and that might change my prediction. But as of everything right now, 2-1 to Grimsby. Oldham up against Gillingham now. As we mentioned, Gillingham, that 1-0 win against Crewe. I think they're going to have a very similar game in this regard. It's going to be tight. I've gone for Oldham 1, Gillingham 2. I don't put enough 0-0s in my prediction, and there always are 0-0s, so I try and fit one into at least every league. And for this league, I have gone for Shrewsbury 0, Accrington Stanley 0. And you know what? In my head, it just makes sense. But yeah, watch this now be 3-3 or something crazy. But as far as I'm concerned, Shrewsbury 0, Accrington 0. Now then, let's move on to League One. And we are starting off with the most informed team in League One. That is Cardiff up against Plymouth, who until last week were arguably one of the least informed teams themselves. So yeah, an interesting one on paper. There's two teams both relegated from the Championship, both having very different starts to life in League One. I think, though, on this one, it's going to be Cardiff 2, Plymouth 0. Cardiff at home, a different animal, different beast entirely. Plymouth, they've managed to get their first win. They also did well in midweek. It doesn't matter for me. Cardiff, too strong at home. They've got enough to get the job done. In terms of key players, I'm looking at Ruben Colwill through the middle. Such a big fan of Colwill's. His movement off the ball, on the ball, absolutely fantastic. If anyone's going to stop him, it's going to be Boateng, and I'm looking at him to try his best to try and stop him. I don't think he will, though. I think Cardiff, as I say, too much for Plymouth. Tom Cleverley, this isn't a bad loss. You're up against the best team in the league. Quite the start from Cardiff. Listen, it's not a bad loss. What I will say, Tolaj, I'm expecting him to take a bit of time to bed into this Plymouth system. So if he blanks again, which I think he will, Plymouth fans, don't be alarmed. There is a serious player in there. Up next, I've gone for Doncaster up against Rotherham, a struggling Rotherham side. I think it's going to get worse for them. I'm going to go for Doncaster 3, Rotherham 0. Key player for Doncaster, even though he didn't even start the last game, I've got to go for Owen Bailey. What a start to the season he has made. In terms of goals, every time I see Doncaster have scored, I think it's always his name. It's just Owen Bailey that pops up. So yeah, I'm going to go for him as the key player. Somehow, keep scoring. Doesn't look like he's going to slow down. As for Rotherham, I'm looking at Cameron Dawson. Is he going to be the man to keep out Doncaster? Doncaster, of course, made such a good start to life in League One. I think Rotherham, where they finish, who knows? It might not be relegation, but they're certainly showing some relegation form, in my opinion. So yeah, Cameron Dawson, big game needed for him to stop Doncaster. I really like Doncaster in the wide positions. I'm not so much convinced by Rotherham in the wide positions. That's where I see Doncaster really exploiting Rotherham. So yeah, final score on this one, Doncaster 3, Rotherham 0. Barnsley now up against Huddersfield. This is the big game of League One for me this week. A really appetising game on paper. Barnsley are good at home. I do think they will do well. I've got them scoring 2 goals. I've also got Huddersfield getting 2. I think, again, similar to the Notts County game this week, this is a battle of the informed players. I'm looking at David McGoldrick. He's going to be the main man. Him and Davis Keller-Dunn. Can they cause Huddersfield a load of issues? Maybe. In terms of Huddersfield, of course, there's a few players it could be, but I'm looking at Alfie May. Realistically, McGoldrick against Alfie May, you've got 2 unbelievable bagsmen for this level going head-to-head for their teams. So yeah, I think there's going to be goals in this game. It's going to be a very tight affair. Both teams did well in midweek. Barnsley, of course, came from behind. Huddersfield up against Premier League opposition. So yeah, both teams coming into this in form, looking to get all 3 points. Conor Hourihane up against Lee Grant. A really exciting game on paper. As I say, 2-2. I'm sitting on the fence. I can't call it. So then, as for the rest of League One, Blackpool up against Bolton. I can see Blackpool getting a goal. I can also see Bolton getting one. I think this game is a draw. I'm going to go for 1-1 between the two sides. But if any of those two teams is going to get the job done, my money's on Bolton. Bradford up against Wimbledon. Wimbledon doing all right, in all fairness to them. Bradford doing really well. A massive 3-0 win up against Stoke in midweek. I am going to go for Blackpool 2, Wimbledon 1. It's going to be a tight game. Bradford, of course, in midweek, a huge 3-0 win up against Stoke. I think Bradford at home, too strong for Wimbledon, but it will be a close game. I'm going Bradford 2, Wimbledon 1. As I mentioned about the 0-0s, I always want to try and throw one in because there always is a 0-0. So I've gone for Burton up against Luton. Burton look quite good defensively. Luton, they create chances, but they don't really have many clear-cut chances. So yeah, I see this one maybe finishing 0-0. If anyone's going to edge it, it would be a maybe Luton 1-0. But for me, I'm sticking with my guns. 0-0, Burton and Luton. Exeter up against Peterborough now. A Peterborough side that really do look like they're struggling, not just for points, but also for goals. I don't think they're going to get either in this game. I've gone for a 3-0 win to Exeter. Leyton Orient thumped last week against Mansfield. Northampton picking up their first win of the season. Such a needed win it was. I see this one, though, a close game. Northampton will get a goal. I'm looking at Ethan Wheatley. Looks to be a very promising striker on loan from Manchester United. As for Leyton Orient, though, 2-1 winners on the day. I think they've got enough to get past Northampton. As we just mentioned, Leyton Orient thumped last week by Mansfield. They're now up against Lincoln. Mansfield, are they going to make it 4 wins out of 4? I think they will. Lincoln 1, Mansfield 2. Reading up against Port Vale. Port Vale went to St Andrews and won. Only 6 other teams have done that since Davis has been in charge. What a fantastic win that was for Port Vale, and I think they're going to carry that momentum with them. I'm going to go for 1-1 at the weekend. Stevenage up against Wycombe. Now, Wycombe, are they beginning to show signs of life? I think they are, but I think they won't have enough on the day. I'm going to go for Stevenage 2, Wycombe 1. Wigan now up against Stockport. I think this is going to be a really tight, really cagey game. I'm going to go for Wigan 0, Stockport 1. Stockport to get the job done, but really grind through it. We've seen them already do it a couple of times this season. I think they're going to do it again. But regardless, Stockport 1, Wigan 0, all 3 points going to Dave Challinor's side. Now then, on to the Championship. Up first, of course, we have got Leicester up against Birmingham. What an exciting game this looks to be. In terms of who's missing for either side, it is both left backs. It's Alex Cochran and it is also Christensen for Leicester. So the left back positions slightly weaker than any other position on the pitch, but it looks as though two sides that are basically full strength, and this is going to be a real showdown. So in terms of who I think the key player is going to be for Birmingham, I'm going to go with Kyogo. I think his movement for Okoli and for Vestergaard is going to be too difficult. We've already seen him getting behind, but he also gets the ball to feet, turns, brings other players into play. Really, really like Kyogo. I think it's such a good signing from Birmingham. So yeah, Kyogo to cause that Leicester defence absolute nightmares. And speaking of nightmares, I also think there's going to be one for Ethan Laird if he is the man that does play at left back, because how on earth do you stop Fatuwu? Yes, he has quiet moments in the game, but when he does get going, he is unstoppable at times. So I'm looking at Fatuwu to be the man for Leicester, as he has been so far this season. Look at that Charlton goal, unbelievable. Heavily linked with a move away, even Aston Villa being one of those teams. So if I would love nothing more before he joins Aston Villa, for him to sink one past Birmingham and pick up all 3 points for Leicester. So let's see what happens, but those two in particular are the key players for me. And I think this one will be a battle of the midfields. So whoever can get on top in that midfield battle will arguably win the game. I can't believe Tommy Doyle hasn't got more minutes, but realistically, the Birmingham duo has been so solid so far this season. So yeah, you've got the sort of inexperienced, like clever recruitment side of things from Birmingham, and then you've got the big wages, Harry Winks, Oliver Skipp, Sumare. In terms of Leicester, who will come out on top will dictate this game, in my opinion. Are you up front? Not enough for me in terms of him. Same with Daka to actually cause much of an impact on this game. So yeah, 1-1, that's how I've got this. I think it will be close. I think it will be tight. And yeah, what a way to kick off the championship. Friday night, looking forward to that one. Up next, we've got the in-form Middlesbrough against the complete out-of-form Sheffield United. Last time out for Sheffield United, they really struggled. They didn't get a goal. They should have had a goal, though. They actually created some all right chances. Same as the Bristol City game, first game of the season. In that first half, they had the chance to put the game to bed. No one is doubting that Sheffield United have quality on that pitch. Ruben Sales has to get them going. I've heard the names of the players that potentially might come in for Sheffield United. Age, experience, whatever you want to call it, they're not the most exciting signings. So yeah, the players on the pitch need to demonstrate they've got enough themselves. As for Middlesbrough, what a start to the season. What a start for Rob Edwards. This is why when I did my season predictions, I had Middlesbrough finishing in 6th. And a lot of people in the comments, Middlesbrough, they're never going to finish 6th. You don't know anything. I just looked at this side and thought there was a sleeping giant in there for Middlesbrough. Rob Edwards' system suits this squad far better than Michael Carrick's did. Michael Carrick, I think he was there for too long. It got a bit stagnant, never quite worked for him. But players like Conway, Finazaz, Whittaker, Hackney, all of these players that can do multiple jobs on the pitch, whether it be defence or attack, I think it's such a good Middlesbrough side, and I'm expecting them to get all 3 points on the day against Sheffield United. I'm, of course, going for 2-1 to Middlesbrough. Key player for Middlesbrough, it's going to be Finazaz. It could have been one of a few people, but Finazaz to me, so much quality. Linked with Southampton, the bid was apparently rejected. Rightfully so. If you're Middlesbrough, hold on to your asset, and he is a serious asset. Never quite someone that was good enough for Villa at the time. He obviously left us. It was one of those ones where you thought, wish him all the best, nothing more. But seriously, what a player he is. He's destined for the Premier League, in my opinion. Key player on the day. As for Sheffield United, I'm going to go for Gustavo Hamer. If anyone is going to get them out of trouble, it's going to be Gus Hamer, because he just has these individual moments of brilliance. By far, one of the best players in the league that plays for Sheffield United. That is, of course, Gus Hamer. By far, one of the best players in the league. So yeah, if he can get it going, they have a chance. But I just think Middlesbrough, Finazaz, Whittaker, Conway, that 3 there up front are going to cause them too many issues. And the final score will be Middlesbrough 2, Sheffield United 1. In terms of who is missing for Sheffield United, it's Arblaster, still not quite fit to even feature with the squad. Don't think he's been back in training yet. And as for Middlesbrough, there was no real noticeable fitness shouts. I'm more looking at Naipan, on loan from Manchester City, signed from Rosenborg in the summer. One of the hottest prospects in world football. Are we going to see him feature a bit more? Where does he slot in? Morris, Hackney, Azaz, Whittaker, that 4 was like a centre attacking mid CDM combination. So strong. So yeah, will he feature a bit more? Where can he fit in? I'm not too sure at the minute. But that is that one. 2-1 to Middlesbrough. Stoke now up against West Brom. What a game this looks to be. In terms of Stoke, who's missing? Mabama. Does the suspension carry through the EFL Cup? I think it does, so he might be back. But there's a real question mark for me if Robbins will even give him the start or if he'll sit him on the bench. We'll have to see there. I personally think he should start. Very good start to the season. But yeah, just a really stupid red card last week. We mentioned Mbama got sent off last week. Well, Ryan Mason also did. He will be missing from the touchline for this game. He'll be up in the stands. We'll have to see how they get on without him. But listen, Stoke have had a great start to the season. That win against Southampton last week was superb. Other than that, they've played Sheffield Wednesday Derby, 2 sides that weren't in the best of form. Again, I'm not doubting Stoke, but I just think they're coming up against a really good West Brom side here. A West Brom side that are really gelling, beginning to play their football. I think Fellows on the right, I think Mikey Johnson on the left, Isaac Price in the 10, and Hegber up front. That is a 4, such a strong 4 in this league with Carlum Grant to filter in off the bench. So yeah, for me, I see this one being 2-1 to West Brom. Key player for West Brom, Isaac Price in the 10. Lewis Baker won't be able to stop him. He's one of the best players in this league when he's at his best, as is Mikey Johnson, as is Tom Fellows. So yeah, West Brom to have too much for Stoke. If Stoke can get it going though, I'm looking at Manahoff. Great start to the season for him. If he can provide some goals and assists, I think it might end up being a draw. I think West Brom will be able to shut him out just enough. But yeah, close game, 2-1 to West Brom. Millwall now up against Wrexham. I've gone for 1-1 on this one. In terms of who's missing, Josh Windass for Wrexham. Been missing for a couple of games now. A big loss for them. As for Millwall, it looks as though Alfie Doherty set to miss this game. The new signing, the left back, really good start to life at Millwall, so that's a big miss for them. But I'm looking at that Wrexham right-hand side, and I'm seeing that that is where the trouble is for them in this game. Luke Kundal, great game last weekend. I'm expecting him to continue that this weekend, as well as Ivanovic up front. That's going to be a big battle between him and Connor Cody. You've got the youth against the experience. If Ivanovic can have a really good game, Connor Cody will very much struggle. Are we going to see new signing Callum Doyle slot in at left centre-back to maybe help that defence that has shipped a few goals so far this season? A very interesting game on paper, but yeah, I'm going to go for 1-1. Can't call this one. But just to touch on Wrexham and their key player, I'm going to go for Lewis O'Brien. In terms of that midfield battle, it's going to be a very interesting one to see who comes out on top. O'Brien, as I mentioned in the EFL review I put out a few days ago, one of the best players in this league. I know I've said that so many times just in this video myself, but he really is. He could be playing for any of these championship teams. I'm expecting him to have a big game for Wrexham, be the man in the middle that pulls the string. He's going to be my key player. Watford up against Southampton now. I've gone for Watford 1, Southampton 3. I do think Southampton are really going to start to turn the screw a little bit against teams. Of course, Tyler Dibling is now gone. They seem to have already replaced him with Robinson. I'm looking at him to have a good game. I really think he will. But mainly, the main man is going to be Adam Armstrong. Or will we see Cameron Archer? I've been begging Will Steele to put Archer into the side. It hasn't happened just yet. He played in midweek, scored a lovely goal. Because of the sort of goal that I do actually think Southampton have been missing when Armstrong has played. So yeah, a lot of interesting tweaks and changes that Will Steele might make on this one. One change he won't make will be their key player, and that will be Shea Charles. Charles in the centre of the pitch, pulling strings, making life difficult for Watford. A Watford side that is very physical in the middle, but Shea Charles is such a good defensive midfielder. He will be pulling the strings, as I say, defensively, offensively, helping link the defence and the attack. Shea Charles, key player for Southampton. As for Watford, it's going to be Iran Kudu. Everyone knows I'm a big fan of Iran Kudu, and the reason why is because of his technical ability. That free kick he scored, proof of that. He is a serious player on loan from Bayern Munich. If anyone's going to cause any damage to this Southampton side, it will be him. He's played on the left-hand side, flitted into the middle, had a few shots. It's not quite worked out for him in that sense just yet, but when he fully gets it going, a real beast. So he's going to be my player to watch for Watford. In terms of injury news, Sousa, suspension actually, not an injury, but Sousa will be missing for Watford, and Wellington should miss the game for Southampton, but Southampton, don't worry, because Ryan Manning, what a sub that is, by the way, for this level. Ryan Manning to come in, and he will just fill that gap, as I say, so well. As for the rest of the championship then, Leicester up against Birmingham. I see this being a draw, a very close game, 1-1 on the night. Middlesbrough, Sheffield United, miserable start to the season. Middlesbrough, what a start to the season. It's going to continue 2-1 to Middlesbrough at the Riverside. QPR, battered 7-1 by Coventry, 5-0 at half-time. Charlton, so unfortunate for Tuwu with that absolute screamer to take the point away from them. So I think this is going to be 1-1. QPR will bounce back. Don't let that scoreline make you think that they aren't a decent side. They're going to bounce back. Charlton, they'll be happy with the point. 1-1. Blackburn 1, Norwich 1. Blackburn 3-0 winners against Hull last week. I do think Norwich have had a difficult start, so away from home, which weirdly they have done better this season. It's going to be 1-1. Both teams will happily take that. Norwich really need to get into their stride and get into their stride quickly if they're going to mount that automatic / playoff charge. Bristol City up against Hull. I'm going to go for Bristol City 2-0 winners. Hull, they've shown glimpses at times, but I think they're defensively quite weak. Charlie Hughes linked with a move away. They were told they need to sell for FFP reasons. Unfortunately, Hull, I'm going to go for 2-0 to Bristol City, as I say. And yeah, it could be a very tough season for Hull now. Ipswich 2, Derby 0. I just think Derby haven't quite got it going yet. Their record signing out until October. Bit of a strange buy when I look at that now, that he's not going to play until October. But Ipswich, their players are going to start having to ramp it up. And I think they will in this game. 2-0 to Ipswich. Coventry, of course, 7-1 winners against QPR. What a result that was for them. Oxford, away, difficult place to go. I'm going to go for Oxford 1, Coventry 2. Coventry are going to have to stop scoring so many goals, surely at some point. Portsmouth, very good at home, up against the Preston side that have been so good in the last 2 games. They've beaten Ipswich, they've beaten Leicester. But I think it's going to come to an end now. I'm going to go for Portsmouth 1, Preston 0. Sheffield Wednesday, with some heroics midweek, they managed to beat Leeds. What a result for Sheffield Wednesday that was. Now, though, back at Hillsborough with everything going on, I think Swansea are going to turn up the fresher side, 1-0 winners on the day. All we've got to do now is look forward to these games at the weekend. I'm going to be posting my accumulator as I do every week over on X. So if you want to go and see that, go and check it out. We've come close a couple of times so far this season. I'm telling you now, the big one's going to land. But as I say, we're going to have to look forward to this weekend's actions. I certainly will. I've also done a Premier League preview. Go and check that out as well. Some big games in the Premier League this week. Liverpool versus Arsenal. But in terms of the EFL preview, that is a wrap. As I say, we'll be back on Sunday looking to do the EFL review to see how we got on in terms of our predictions and just assess where everyone is. I cannot wait for this weekend's action. Please do like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate it so much. And of course, as always, I will see you on the next one.